season here in Split 3. Quacks, before we deep dive, of course, into that 4-6 matchup like we've been talking about, Team WE Thunder Talk, just want to get your general vibes on what you're seeing in front of you. Are there any teams that are surprising you where they're at in the standings? Anything jumping out at you?
I think that AL is a little bit of a surprise for me personally. I think that going into the split, some people were worried, and then the Breathe roster change was also met with, at least personally, a little bit of skepticism, just because I feel like Breathe, although could fit well with AL on paper, it was a risky move, in my opinion. Might not fix their issues right away. Their issues, while not all of them have been fixed, Slayer, I do think that AL have looked a lot more solid in split number 3 than they did in the previous ones of 2026. So, big surprise for me, and glad that they're actually doing well. I think that the second place has had a lot of variety so far this year from splits 1, splits 2, and splits 3 on who is actually able to take the silver medal. So that's always really fun to see.
Yeah, you know, Quacks, good start for us as a duo here, because we got that hive mind going. I was going to bring up AL as well. I think the last point I'd make when you're talking about anyone's legend is the fact that the meta shift has really benefited them the most. Being able to say, all right, guys, we're going into a split where jungle and support is low-key the most important duo going into every early game and game in general. And your best two players are, of course, your support Kyle and maybe the MVP of the league behind Knight, of course, at this pace, Tarzan. And you can win a lot of games, and that's exactly what they're doing. So, anyone's legend, definitely a team to look out for as well. But like we've been talking about, Team WE is one of those teams that is kind of trying to challenge them, catch up with them in the standings. For Thunder Talk, the first team we will introduce right now, you could, you know, go off of, I like to call it box score watching, but it could just be standings watching, Quacks, and see 1 and 4. This team is really, you know, you could be like, oh, they're disappointing in Group Ascent, but this is one of those teams, Quacks, right now where the tape they're putting out, I think, really supersedes the record that they're currently holding. This team is putting together some really good wins, and some of those single-game wins are coming up against the best that we have here in the LPL.
But I think recently it's kind of looked like they've lost a little bit of their mojo, frankly, Slayer.
Totally.
We had 4 back-to-back-to-back-to-back games where, frankly, it was pretty rough from them. I do think that even the win they eked out against JDG was extremely close. A lot of people who really paid attention to that game would probably tell you that it should have been a JDG 2-0, and Thunder Talk with a couple of lucky team fights managed to actually clutch that one out. So I really am concerned for this team. While they started off strong, I do think recent performances have indicated a bit of a slump. And although Thunder Talk have never been known to be the most consistent team or roster, especially this year, I want to see them have that bounce back. I want to see all of the struggle, all of the effort they have put in over the course of 2026, give them those satisfying wins. And I think there's no better place to do it than a team like Team WE, who, as we have said, are very stylistically similar to them.
Without a doubt, in the idea that they kind of just like to create a ton of chaos. And you mentioned the JDG win. I think that game 1, they kind of just get the win because they forced JDG to fight them perma for like 15 straight minutes. And
exactly,
we're able to find that win. Not, like you're saying, though, a reliable strategy that you can really lean on a lot of the time, and especially against those upper echelon teams. Of course, you mentioned anyone's legend completely ran them over. I think Alk was talking about it. He was on the broadcast, and I think the total game time across the 2 games was like 46 minutes, which
under like 45 or something. I think.
Yeah,
actually.
like a middle 40s number, which is like a valid length of game in a single game of League of Legends we're seeing sometimes, and 2 games of that is pretty rough. But WE are definitely going to be one of the better tests because WE are one of those teams where it's like we've got BLG right now, AL playing really well, and we know what Team WE could do. They can knock out BLG in a best of 5, right? We've seen it happen before. If Thunder Talk can compete up against Team WE, maybe we can push them closer towards the top than the recent standings have shown, like you talked about, Quacks. But let's introduce Team WE now, who are far from a slouch in this matchup as well. Very cool to just for a second think about where this team was in Split 1, Quacks, with Monkey feeling so demotivated that he kind of self-benched, came out of the lineup for a bit. You know, the bottom lane wasn't working, solo
Hello, anh em.
Up in. A lot of people give apt credit to Arha for the way he joined this team and turned them around, but also Karis just playing at what feels like some of his best League of Legends we've seen from him in the LPL in a bit of time.
And this is something that Dia and I actually talked about when we covered their series against BLG. Even though they went down in that series, they lost in a pretty convincing fashion. I think that BLG did kind of run them over in that 2-0 Slayer. We really highlighted that WE over the course of the year have, I think, given progressively more faith over to Karis. I think at the start of the year, and especially in split number 2, we were really concerned because it didn't feel like Karis was in his element. He wasn't able to play a lot of his melee mid-specialist picks, such as the Sylas, such as the Akali. But here in split number 3, I think a part of the reason why he's been doing so well is because WE say, hey, we saw what happened in split number 2. We saw what happened when we gave faith in you to play your comfort. And they've been doing that more, which I think is really good. Win or lose, it's really nice to see some faith restored in Karis after such a tumultuous year for the organization. And yeah, he has been a really big shining light. I think that him and Monkey, when they can join up together, are a force to be reckoned with in the LPL.
Force to be reckoned with indeed, Quacks. And I'm glad you pointed out how, like you just saw in the clip, Karis is being able to get some of these games on his melee mids that really, you know, kind of sold him as a player that deserved to be in the LPL competing, right? But for me, what is kicking him into a higher gear and what most importantly pushes his ceiling as a player is his ability to kind of work in these control mages, or better known as the mages of the meta, and look, you know, very formidable on them. Because as good as his melee mids are going to be, that's kind of like the floor for Karis, right? If we want him to become a mid laner that can consistently get wins over get wins over Cream, look to try and challenge Shanks' position in the mid lane hierarchy, you need to be able to expand that champion pool and fit towards the meta. And that's what I feel like Karis has done a really good job of alongside those melee mids he can pull out over the last, not just this split, but thinking back to their great run in the playoffs of Split 2 as well.
For sure. I mean, we've had good games on Ahri, we've had good games on Ryze. I think that he is still capable of playing the control mage mid. Some of the more bursty mid laners as well, like Syndra obviously has that burst damage that I think he really likes on some of his melee picks. Even things such as the Victor can absolute control alt delete you if you step up to him in the late game. You as an AD carry player, Slayer, would know that all too well, given that Victor is one of those APCs that the LPL seems to be taking a liking to over the course of this meta. But I do think the dimensionality of Karis is a really good shout. He is still capable of playing the mage mid laners, but the melee mids obviously do remain a specialty pick, and I'm interested to see how that works against Heru, because I think that Heru has also had a bit of a mage style himself. I think that this matchup is going to be really fun, not only because of the champion pools and the draft and how both of these teams like to work around their mid laners in said draft, but also because this has been a very back and forth split for both of them. While I think we've been singing the praises of Karis, he's not been without his stinker games, to be honest with you, and I think that Heru has also been having... We mentioned their last 4 games. I think that Heru has arguably had it the worst. He is a 3-16 KD over the last 4 games, so not been pretty for the man.
Yeah, not very fun indeed for Mr. Heru, and we'll see if he can step up competing against Karis, because I definitely feel like when we talk about the TT shortcoming that is taking them out of a lot of the games as of late for sure. But we kind of talked about it a little bit. I was alluding to it when thinking back to talking about Split 1, WE, right? But also factoring in TT into this equation. These two teams have been the roller coaster that has a 2-hour line permanently at the amusement park. It's so entertaining, Wax.
For sure. I think at certain parts of the year, you could call both of these teams or organizations the worst team in the LPL. I think that split number 1, I was like the biggest Thunder Talk hater ever. Ryan 3 was my mortal enemy, and then they picked it up a little bit in split number 2, and now they're obviously here in split number 3 being able to make it into Ascend. And then WE had that atrocious 1-13 split 2 regular season. So it's been a, like we said, very up and down, back and forth journey for both orgs. But at the end of all of this, I think one thing that really sticks out to me, Slayer, is through it all, the organizations have mostly kept their entire roster. We did see On get put in for Ryan 3 coming into split number 2, and then obviously the ARHA change that you mentioned for WE did go on as well at the exact same time. So minimal roster changes over the year, despite such a difficult, tumultuous 2026, I think really just speaks to the faith that the org has in most of their players.
And that's a great thing to hear in the modern day and age of the LPL.
It is.
I mean, we could spend a whole podcast episode. Actually, I would argue we in fact have spent podcast episodes. Make sure, of course, check out the LPL English podcast. We run every week. Myself, Mark, and Rafa, and Alt Battery, of course, went a very long time on the last episode talking about a lot of these things. But, you know, continuing to draw on similarities of these teams, maybe a little bit away from the roller coaster analogy of the team as a whole and their performances, Quacks. I really find it so fun that we get this specific matchup on tap because you mentioned the roster changes. You could argue that both of these teams got a specific addition into the bottom lane. Obviously not the same role here, ARHA versus On. But both of them got an acquisition in the bottom lane that really gave them that extra edge that we felt like this team could be missing. A lot easier said and done for ARHA, but I do believe On's ability to kind of just say, all right, guys, I can pull out a Draven game and just low-key, run a bottom lane and give you that extra threat is huge for TT. We just haven't seen the results yet as purely as the ARHA switch was for WE in their playoff run.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. I think that On has brought much-needed versatility to the team. I feel that Thunder Talk in split number 1, part of the reason why it was so difficult for them to have games won, just period, was because it was basically play around topside or bust. And that's a pretty hard thing to do when 2 out of your 3 topsiders are rookies. That is their first split. So I think now that you've got a more stabilizing piece in the bot lane, you've got someone who, like you said, is capable of playing the Draven, who at times is saying, hey, Feather, just get away from the lane. You could roam up toward the top side to help our really volatile solo laners, link up with Junhao, who, like we have already stated, is kind of the captain of this team, the driving force of Thunder Talk. I think that has been something that's really given, like you said, TT the edge going into ever since On joined the team. And for WE, I think ARHA has just been another great piece at saying, hey, Monkey, you mind if I tag along for your crazy adventures? He's like kind of the guy in the sidecar while Monkey is driving the bike or the car. He just sits on the side and is like, all right, I'll join you. Wherever you go, I go, and we're going to have a great time. The journey, the destination, honestly, might not be where we want to go, but at least we'll be going together.
Yeah, and some people say the journey is what makes the destination, whatever it is. So
that's definitely true for WE.
Yeah, definitely true indeed for Team WE. And of course, last point on that ARHA point, and I'll tie this into another team that I know we're big fans of with NIP. I'm just glad that ARHA is getting the justice he deserves. That you all will see Fungaway get it by the end of the NIP split. Here, that's how I'll put it. With the way we've been treating our supports in this league, we are seeing some of the supports on your screen now as Team WE take to the stage here to face off against Thunder Talk. A series, Quacks, that will really help us start to formulate the tiers that we feel like exist in this league, which is an easier task said than done. But this is a spot, especially for a team like Team WE, to say, listen, guys, we are, one of those upper echelon challenging teams. 4-2 through 6 series is a very impressive mark for this now Group of Set-led team.
And for Thunder Talk as well, if you lose this series, you go down to 1-5. I think that we're giving them a lot of grace because the game score actually looks really good when you factor in the fact that 4 out of their 5 series have been losses so far. But you go down to 5 series losses, I think that you lose a little bit of that grace. So I think just for the sake of making sure the faithful shall be rewarded, as we would say here in North America, Slayer, that kind of is maintained. They really want to win this best of 3 against Team WE because, like I said, it's about restoring that faith, but it's also and maintaining that faith, but it's also just because this is a team that, like you said, has really been on a trailblaze when it comes to people gradually gravitating toward them because of how they play League and just the stories that have come out from WE over the past few months from Split 2 playoffs to now.
story that is still being written with such big things like, you know, the regional qualifiers on tap here, something that helps, you know, getting to play Group Ascend, obviously, set yourself better up for playoffs, and, you know, potentially a Worlds team, and not putting that burden on them now, Quacks, just throwing out the facts of what the future of some of these teams is looking like, you know, the goals that they are looking towards. But let's start getting into the nitty-gritty here and down to brass tacks, shall we, Quacks? We do know that Thunder Talk had the first selection over them, and I think this is an interesting talking point. They opt to take counterpick. I feel like that speaks a bit to what we're talking about on how we feel the solo lanes of Team WE might be their biggest strength in this matchup.
And it's a little bit of a departure, too, because I think that a lot of the focus for both of these teams has been snag up a mid-jungle combo basically right away. There's been a lot of emphasis on the top side being as comfortable as possible, getting those comfort picks. Counter pick, I think, hasn't really been too much of a concern, especially for Thunder Talk. I think they really just want Heru on something that he can pilot. And then for Keshi, I feel like that is probably the most likely culprit for who is actually going to be getting the counter pick. They'll probably try and hand it over to top lane, because I think that Team WE, this kind of goes back to the Karis point that we made, but I would extend the same courtesy over to Cube, where they're giving him a little bit more grace, a little bit more faith. The organization is allowing Cube to explore some of these more carry-oriented picks, whereas you looked earlier in the year, some of those drafts, it was basically Cube, you're on tank duty, buddy. So I think now that Cube has shown himself to be a little bit more willing, a little bit more open to those carry champions, and just the pool has widened, that probably tells Thunder Talk, hey, we should actually probably give Keshi counterpick, because Cube can play more than just the tanks nowadays.
That's a great frame of mind to approach it with, Quacks, and to kind of further support your point there, I thought it was funny, our great producer flew this graphic that the LPL broadcast ran while we were talking through our stuff. Speaking of carry top laners, Jace, of course, fits that bill. There's only 3 people this split that have gotten a win on Jace, and funnily enough here, Quacks, 2 of the 3 of them are Team WE players. Of course, we know Monkey brought it into the jungle, but
Can I guess the last one? Can I guess the last one?
Okay, good. Well, I hope you didn't cheat, right?
No, I didn't cheat. I didn't cheat. I didn't cheat.
So it's Cube, Monkey, and one other. Who's the one other?
On the Jace wins? Okay. Just confirm for me. Can I hint that it's a top laner? Can I get a hint that it's a top laner?
I'll give you 2 hints to help you. It's a top laner, and it's a group ascend to top laner.
Okay.
So you can't just bail out and guess the shy and hope. That is not
I am going to guess. I am going to guess Zoyan.
Zoyan is incorrect. It is everyone's favorite current group ascend top laner, Wenbo.
No!
It is, in fact, Wenbo. It is Wenbo, Cube, and Monkey. Who would have thought that would be the state of Jace in the LPL during Split 3?
You know what'd be even more embarrassing is if I casted that game. Because I've been doing a lot of WE series. Was gone for week number 1. But I think other than that, I've been basically covering, or BLG rather, sorry, not WE. I've basically been covering BLG nonstop. We are actually on to the draft here.
We're firing
rapid firing away through. Bans are already done. Cassiopeia, Ambessa, Lee Sim, which is permabanned against Junhao, basically. Ezreal, Poppy, and Orianna. WE, the comfort for Monkey going to be that Nefiria. But I'm interested, Slayer, without the Orianna, what they're actually planning to pair it up with here in the mid lane, especially now that Thunder Talk look like they might go for the Rise.
I just love that off rip, they're picking the Shen. Obviously, we've seen a lot more in support. We're expecting, Feather to pilot it. It's flexible, but the main thing I'm seeing is, oh, they're picking Nefiri, here's a taunt, right? Like, I'm throwing a taunt down. Oh, you're playing Nefiri, here's a Stand United Shield to try and blow somebody up for a reset. So, automatically, I'm seeing Thunder Talk already take control of the fact that they're going to be able to counterpick a bit more of Team WE's plan. You factor that in with the Rise, and out the gate here, Quacks, we have some decent counters to a Nefiri play, and way more global map pressure into this mid game than WE can try to answer for, as they pair the Ahri up with the Nefiri.
All right, so a lot of single target bursts coming through here from WE on the mid jungle. It also, with the Shen lock-in, means that WE can't really go for things like the Camille, which has risen in popularity in the support role just because the roaming ability is constantly getting policed by the Stand United. And add on to that Roam Warp, it makes some of those really difficult once both of these champions hit level 6 to have that global pressure that the Camille likes to have by just roaming around the map 24/7. So good pickups here for ThunderTalk so far. WE going to finish out the first phase with the Varus, just a pretty comfort stock standard pick for a bout, and a lot of supports still open and available. So I wonder if maybe we'll see something like the Bard come through here from Arha, or if that does become a focus of bans by ThunderTalk as we move into those.
Looks like for now they're just trying to get rid of pesky disengage-based champions. Twofold. Alistair could definitely set up for a Nefiri as well. Jarvan was that lock-in. I think it's simple for Junhao to see, all right, that's an immobile to carry. I'm going to dive that guy every time. So I like the pick there for that aspect. But as we do get into these, bans, we can start thinking about what do these teams need most, Quacks? And I do think for Team WE, Ahri's fine. Maybe start here for Nefiri. Hitting a Chains of Corruption is fine, but that's not reliable. They need someone big and beefy, in my mind, to be reliable first engage, to get the Nefiri in the door, to get the Ahri in the door.
And with the Abessa banned, I feel like the natural thing I gravitate toward whenever you need some form of engage in the top lane is like a Gnar. But I think that Gnar is better suited as a counter pick. And also, we haven't been seeing a ton of range top laners banned away here. We still have things like the Vayne open and available. Of course, there is still one ban left for WE if they decide to go that route, but it's going to be the Sivir ban instead, which we were talking a lot about, actually, Slayer, as we were discussing talking shop last night ahead of this series. So that will be removed, at least, is something that needs to come through here, especially if ThunderTalk continue to index into some disengage, as you were mentioning.
We'll see if they decide to do a little bit of that here. The Ziggs is going to be the late hover. I'd expect this one to get locked in. Just such a powerful champion. Ziggs was already existing in the bottom lane before being on alone. And, of course, that's a really far range target that is going to be difficult for Ahri, Nefiri to find angles to get on top of. I think this is a fine Ziggs look. But this does kind of set up Keshi to maybe want to lean towards an AD top lane flex. I wonder if this is a Gnar angle for Mr. Keshi here, as we see the Rakan and Rumble round out the Team WE comp.
I wouldn't hate it. You still do have access to things like the Scion. You've got the Galio if you really want to go down to brass tactics, and the Cassante too. But this is a little anticlimactic, Slayer, because we really wanted to see these top laners go blow for blow. We talk about the faith that both of these organizations have in these guys to play their comfort champions, to play those carries when the situation calls for it. But I do think this is a game where the situation does call for a Cassante. Is not only really good in the lane against the Rumble at just being able to deny him that burst in the first phases of the game, but also there's a lot of engage from Team WE, and I think that All Out really gives more space over to On, over to Heru to dump out that double mage bot lane, or that double mage duo combo in the later stages. So with that in mind, I really do favor ThunderTalk in the scaling department, and I also think that their setup with things like the Cataclysm is really good to land that damage. But for the side of WE, it really is going to have to be all about Monkey, in my opinion. I think that the best setup you've got is the Charm and the Rakan to follow up, but those aren't like the best things that I can think of off the top of my head, so I think Monkey is going to be having a bit of a tall task ahead of him. But I mean, this is the guy who's made the impossible possible, so if anyone can do it, I believe in him.
That's a great last adage there, Quacks. Yeah, I'm with you there. It's got to be Monkey at the forefront. Shocker. But when you think, I really do lean towards and gravitate towards this ThunderTalk comp. I'll take a step further. I think both these comps kind of are lacking super reliable damage as the game goes on. That's the nature of having a mage in the bottom lane and then a Varus is the other option. But what swings it for me for ThunderTalk, we've got a tank Cassante topside. We've got health stackers galore with Ryze and Shen. Let's see if that can counter the burst and the chaos that Team W are looking to do as we hit the rift for game one.
always kind of fun to see the more middle of the pack teams as they were. See which one of the Gyos are louder, because anytime you've got like a IG game or a BLG game or even like a JDG game, those clubs have had, you know, accolades on top of accolades, so the cheers are naturally a lot louder because of the fans that have gravitated toward them. But neither of these two organizations have had a ton of winning history in recent years, especially. So I always like to hear the Gyos, to see the faithful, as they were.
And they are here in droves as we start to dissect this early start to our game and, of course, series here. First thing that they kind of gravitate towards is the fact that both of our junglers are, of course, pathing in a similar form, top down here, which could make that bottom lane Scuttle Crab a very interesting first point of contention. And if you know, maybe didn't catch all of our pre-show and need a quick synopsis of what to expect, these two teams will look to fight whenever they can, and no matter what the odds are telling them. So that's partly why Quacks were highlighting, you know, a level 3 Scuttle Crab is a point where this entire game could flip on its head with these two teams.
I got no doubt about it, and we already see that Thunder Talk are setting it up pretty nicely. We've got push in bot lane. On also has that teleport, so if they need to, they can abandon the wave, go for a reset, and then with an item advantage, they can fight for the bot side. Crab Monkey cutting it close there with the pathing. And we already see Heru has taken a reset too, so he'll be able to push the wave back, having that tier in hand. So I do like that Thunder Talk are playing around, hey, we really want to get this Crab, we really want to deny Monkey resources, because as we mentioned in the Draft Slayer, it really is all about this Neferi in the early stages.
Get Monkey going, and Team WE have found themselves a lot of wins along that one singular thought line. But for now, as you pointed out with TT's setup, he's not going to be able to get access to that closer Crab. Junhao is going to pick this one up with relative ease. We'll see where he wants to go here. Maybe try to play an information game. Yep, we'll see if he gets some vision down. Arha is going to stiff this one out, but I like this. It's kind of a free timer because you know Monkey's got to waste those extra precious seconds to get the top side Scuttle. It's going to suck if he gets his recall canceled, though, and everything I was just talking about kind of got ruined, Quacks.
Delay on the reset. We can see Monkey is crossing over mid.
Look for Heru here. They're going to hit the charm first. Arha's going to flash. Grand entrance, and Heru immediately uses flash, but there's more than enough damage. Team WE pounce early as we expected and get first blood.
You know, when I did the handoff to you, Slayer, I was kind of hesitant about even doing it because I thought the initial play from WE was surely not going to work, but they end up getting the kill. They burn both sums from Heru. It's only a flash from Arha as well, so Monkey and Karas hold on to their sums through all of that, which is a big deal on top of the kill. And yeah, good start here for Team WE, just getting that Ahri ahead in the matchup.
So we identify the Team WE draft brings so much mid-game power. First item power, second item power, Ahri, Varus, Neferi, even Rumble. You get the ball rolling on any of those champions, you're feeling good about your mid-game prospects. And so far, so good here for Team WE. Karas holding on to what should end up around about a 500 gold lead. And Team WE vastly approaching the 1,000 gold lead threshold. Is we're about 10 seconds away from our first Dragon of the game hitting the Rift, and both junglers are on this bot side. Both bot lanes vie for that very coveted river vision control.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if WE really want to go for an early Dragon here. Karsting's level 6.
No charm, no dice, though. That's what we talked about. Not reliable engage tool. Skill shots that need to hit, and that time it did.
We see Monkey now taking control of the bot side river, is closing in on level 6. I think once that Crab spawns, if he's able to go from Krugs to Crab, that will give him the ultimate unlocked. And then from there, I think if you've got the ult advantage, really should just look to go for the Dragon, because you want to try and apply as much dueling power. You basically want to try and fight Thunder Talk as much as humanly possible until Stand United is accessible by Feather. Yes. So that timer is really valuable for WE to get the jump on, and I think they might have something here as Arha is deep in enemy territory.
Remember, he doesn't have flash, but Rakan is so slippery, especially with allies nearby. Monkey looking to potentially re-engage here onto On. Spend that primal smite, and well, the big win here is that Junhao is completely cut him off from that crab, and Junhao ticks over to level 6 here. Monkey, I think he's trying to leash XP off of the bot wave, and he will get ulted as well. Realm Warp coming down, though. The Shadow Dash talk and land onto Arha. Flag and drag over onto About. Gets trapped in the Cataclysm. He doesn't have his flash either, and he is on a one-way trick back to the Fountain. Root Prism gonna grab Monkey, goes untargetable, and has to flash himself back over to the turret. Junhao punishing summoners missing from Team WE.
And it felt like Thunder Talk were a little bit split on that play initially. Junhao kind of separated himself from the rest of his team, focusing down the Varus. They still managed to get a significant amount of damage to actually secure the kill, but looked a little bit messy on the side of TT. On the other side, though, Karis did manage to get at least some gold there, as he wasn't able to match the roam. We do get a replay here. And yeah, Feather, he gets the Shadow Dash, but then Junhao, he goes to the complete other direction. I just think both the engagers were a little bit split on the call. Monkey doesn't have enough damage to get a return kill, so he has to flash away. And that's a really valuable summoner spell as well. Now that Monkey doesn't have his flash accessible, it means that any kind of trip the dog takes, the dog might not leave alive. So you got to be really certain on how you play those future fights. Now Keshi is in the bot lane.
Keshi's in the bot lane. About was not ready for it, and the flash forward from Keshi secures the kill. The Tovo strikes back, are able to grab Arha. Level 4 Rakan is getting walked down. Keshi springs out of a brush and finds 2 coveted kills for Thunder Talk.
And Keshi brings the lightning into the bot lane and bashes down Team WE. About and Arha, neither of them had flash at the time, so there is nowhere for them to go. And a huge amount of gold going into the Cassante. We mentioned how important it was for him to be online going into these team fights because he would provide such a barrier that WE would struggle to get across. Now, though, Cube maybe wants to look for a return kill, but I don't think he's going to find it, Slayer.
No, our action has to go towards these grubs. Arha, grand entrance knock-up on now has to flash his Feather, gets trapped in the chains, and will go down. The Hound's Pursuit flies Monkey halfway across the river. It's a Cataclysm flash out from Junhao. Monkey's fine, and Karis wants to fight. Last charge of Spirit Rush, gets the charm onto Heru, but About can't get a big piercing arrow down, and Karis has low mana. They're not able to turn that kill over onto Heru, but they do control the river. And Monkey's able to secure that last grub over to the side of Team WE.
That's what we want to see from WE. All of their focus on one member, get the Hound's Pursuit reset. And we do get a bit of a cinematic replay, actually, of the bot lane 1v2 Keshi. The knock-up there just not sufficient enough, right? I mean, Keshi has his flash, On doesn't. The writing is on the wall. I really kind of wish we saw a replay of how that was set up, because we went immediately back to live after that initial Dragon Play Slayer, and the Cassante in the bush was just very random. So I'm kind of curious what WE were thinking. I have to imagine they didn't see that On and Feather were roaming toward the top side at the time, because if they did, that was just straight up on them. Like, that was just a very big miscalculation, in my opinion, not knowing that the Cassante could be right there in the bush or right there waiting for you to step up.
He didn't even teleport either. He has teleport up now, so it's not like he TP'd down there. Keshi, though, still providing such a heroic early turn back for Thunder Talk, and they're continuing to parry that into more things. The most recent being that Ocean Drake secured in their favor. Despite the kill lead, Team WE, though, still holding on to the gold lead at this current point, and a lot of it still resides into Karis' pocket. Again, with the Malignants already done here, Karis has another opportunity to show that this is the new Karis. This is the big year for Karis here. And what a mid-game we have to look forward to from this guy.
Cyclosword and that Malignance, like you said. So WE's mid-jungle, the real focus of this comp, the real focus of this team. Frankly, Slayer in a really good position to have this game be focused on them. But on the other side, I mean, Keshi already having his first item. WE's comp is not great at being able to deal with tanks. You've got double mages, and you see that Kainic Rooker, and already completed, like I mentioned, and then really the only source of AD damage that you have outside of this Neferi is, hang on, Haru getting engaged on.
Yeah, it's just like the first blood all over again, but the Realm Orb does not get him out. The bleed kills Haru as he tries to teleport to safety. Team WE making it a point to disturb Haru every time they can.
Luckily, On is going to be there to teleport and catch the wave, so WE don't get too much for that kill.
Feather is gone.
Maybe on the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah, completely there, Quacks. To try and block the initial autos here, but he's going to use the heal as well. I think Monkey, if he gets one more of these Darkened Daggers, could just find the kill, but Feather, he's got the smooth moves to get himself out of a sticky situation.
Good discipline there from Feather to hold on to the flash until the very last second. If he flashed even earlier, Monkey probably would have been able to follow up and secure that kill. Haru cannot be walking up here.
It is just screw Haru game one, but Feather has the stand united, trying to desperately save his mid laner, but he may just have to watch as Team WE pounce on top of them. Feather going to be the next one to die as the all-out comes across from Keshi. Does find one back here, a shutdown onto Monkey. Keshi is not to be messed with. Arha and about already learned the hard way how scary this guy is when he goes all out. He's able to once again kind of rescue Thunder Talk, and he's looking for more, but he doesn't know the Kars is on the backside of this fight. Nice flash from about to get back towards his mid laner. Charm is going to hit, but Keshi still very tanky with that Kainic Rooker. 1 versus 3. He's going to shrug all the damage off and survive.
And this is what I said. I mean, even though you've got Fed members on the side of Team WE, none of them are really great at being able to deal with the frontline Slayer. Keshi is so far ahead, nothing is really going to be able to burst him down as we get a replay here. On actually died, yeah, so he gets the turret, but then Cube overheats. It's just melting the Yordle gaming there on the top side. And then we get a replay here in bot lane. Good initial stand united from Feather. I mean, it does keep Haru alive for a few more seconds, and at the very least, it keeps WE in one place. Keshi is able to arrive in time to pick up one for the moment. So I think even though the stand united didn't save the life of his mid laner, it stalled out WE enough to at least get a kill back.
And you know, like you're talking about, right? We're into the mid game now. WE have a 1.5 thousand gold lead by this point. I think it was really important you highlighted it, that the two things we kind of outlined in the draft were true strengths for Thunder Talk have both kind of worked out at this point. We've had some good realm warps, some good stand united, so there's that global map pressure we're talking about. And then you called it out, the Kainic Rooker can already be done for Keshi, this guy being accelerated. The tankiness, the health stacking on Thunder Talk is already providing them dividends that are only going to get stronger. So this is a little bit of a deceptive lead here for Team WE. They still need to really keep the gas going.
Right, and Abao is going Lethality Varus, which is notoriously amazing at being able to deal with frontliners, Slayer. It's so good at killing tanks. Monkey is, I think, building the Black Cleaver to try and compensate a little bit for that, but you're not really going to have any teammates that stack it super effectively, in my opinion. So I really think Keshi, if he continues to have this lead in game number 1, he is going to be a massive nuisance for Team WE, at least until we start to see some MR shred come through from some of these magic damage dealers on Team WE.
So we'll see if they can continue to compound on their current lead. We've got the Rift Herald hitting the Rift, but also second Dragon of the game is going to be a Cloud Soul. Ocean and Cloud Soul off the board does seem pretty tantalizing, Quacks, for the potential soul that we could have on tap for this game, but it's the Herald that Team WE are ripping off Spawn, and we're just getting a classic trade on the map here. Should be that Rift Herald that Team WE will likely use to push their gold lead further, but now Thunder Talk have themselves one hell of a win con.
Oh yeah, they do. And we talked about the scaling being superior for this comp because you've got the mages, right? You've got the Ziggs, you've got the Rise, who are very good in the late game. So I think the Soul win con just really going to add on to that threat as Juno actually does get knocked up, but he's got support nearby. He's near his towers. The only thing that he's not near is unfortunately his Raptors, as Monkey is going to steal those away. And honestly, that's just, you know, that's mental warfare for the junglers. We're talking about this matchup, and It's a matchup in more ways than one, it seems.
I'm just kind of shocked that I didn't just watch both teams in the LPL flip everything over a Raptors respawn. When did we get away from that just being the thing that actually decides these LPL games? I don't know. I missed that memo.
I miss that meta. It's always a good time. Dia and
I'm sure you thought it was a good time.
Dia and I could barely get like a word in for some of our recent series because every single series had like some kind of level 1 shenanigan go on. I'm disappointed in these two teams already as
here we go. They're going for jungle catches, the lockdown, the taunts all land on Akaris, but there isn't enough damage, and he's looking to turn it on to Feather, dashes out of the Cataclysm, Root Prison lands over the wall, and Haru's able to find that kill with Junhao, all out, lands on top of Cube to pull the Rumble into the waiting arms. Keshi, who just continues to be a juggernaut, Team WE can't solve. Nice dodge from Monkey, but another Root Prism lands to lock up the dog and send him back to the pound. TT Spring 3 kills to find the first team fight win of our series.
And Keshi is just too damn tanky. This man is literally going all out in this game, Slayer. A monstrous performance from the rookie top laner up against Team WE. Tower on the bot side is going to be their reward. And a beautiful fight from ThunderTalk all around. Started off a little bit sketchy too. Junhao going into a 2v3, but ends up walking away, gets the flash down. Feather bails his flash over the wall. And then Karis getting the reset. I actually got really worried here because Karis I thought was initially going to escape, but then Haru flashes over the wall. Keshi gets the all-out over the wall. ThunderTalk move the fight in a different direction and force WE to follow them, thus allowing them to land their spells, get a numbers advantage, and bottleneck WE into a zone that they want to fight for.
And now ThunderTalk, the team that we thought time would be on their side for, find themselves in the gold lead. It's going to go down a bit here with WE overloading for this bot tier 1 turret, but still, I think if you had told TT fans, Quacks, that 18 minutes into this game with this draft, that they'd have the first 2 dragons of the game and be virtually even in gold, they'd feel pretty good about their chances to steal game 1.
For sure. ThunderTalk have the scaling advantage, they've got the dragon advantage, and now I feel like we might start to see some peaks of the Team WE desperation, because as we said, when you're Nefiri Ahri and you really spike around that mid game, you're kind of on borrowed time if these plays aren't working out, and the most recent team fight went in favor of ThunderTalk, so I think you've really got to be looking for these opportunities to try and kind of swing the pendulum back in your favor before the scaling threat becomes too much of a burden to bear. My eyes are really going to be on this mid jungle. We saw them be so proactive in the early game. We need to see more of that now.
Speaking on the threat of Keshi, you can really see it continue to manifest in the itemization choices of Team WE. You aptly pointed out the Black Cleaver. That finally came online for Monkey. But Karis going the Leandries second after the Malignants. Not a normal, 1-2 item channel for most of your Ahri players, but you kind of understand it with Karis looking at how big Keshi is alone in this game.
He is, and we can see that ThunderTalk are first to the river. They've got control. We've got Dragon in a little less than 40 seconds, and Keshi should have that teleport back up by the time Dragon spawns. So if he wanted to, he could stay in top lane, but he just wants to make sure that if WE pull the trigger first, he will have that all out. The teleport, you do get the shield, but I think really the main idea here for TT when looking at these 5v5s is we need to deny Monkey any access into our back line as Monkey goes in.
Keshi's going to get a charm, he's going to get up, grabbed by the Chains of Corruption, and then he finally goes all out and pulls Arha under the mid-tier 1 turret, creates some more space, leaving Cube and Karis on the front line. Junhao can drop the Cataclysm, Cube flashes immediately, and WE are pushed out of the river. They do claim the mid-tier 1 turret with the help of good old Shelly, but they are aptly out of position now for this potential soul point Hextech Drake.
Monkey is at half HP. You can see that there is a reset coming through from about. WE are looking worse for wear if they want to try and re-engage this dragon. Really, their only healthy member is Karis.
And he's already getting poked out as well. More of the damage from On really swinging through here. TP back in from about, but it's too little too late. And the flash from Feather gets the Shadow taunt onto Q. Keshi once again trying to hold Monkey at bay on the front line. As Junhao goes after About. Arha getting burned down quickly as Haru finds himself a second. There's a third for Thunder Talk as On wins the AD carry fight. It's all up Thunder Talk. Monkey flashes to rescue one onto Junhao, but he can't even find the kill. It's a max range Q from Cars get one. Monkey now resets, goes untargetable, and he's just trying to buy time. The Mega Inferno Bomb doesn't care about your clock. On sends Monkey packing with the rest of Team WE.
There's a little bit of the Monkey desperation play. We were talking about Slayer, but it ends up giving something over to Team WE because otherwise they miss out on that kill. They gain absolute zilch from that exchange. Thunder Talk get the Dragon, get a majority of the kills, and even though On does fail the satchel charge in the mid lane tier 1, this turret should fall.
Listen, man, I've joined the dark side. I've been spamming this 6 champion. I've done that too many times, more times than I like to admit, Quacks, recently.
Yeah,
but,
25% health, you'd think, would it be too difficult to visualize? But, you know, it happens. As we get a replay, beautiful re-engage there from Feather. Flash, Shadow Dash, opens up the floodgates for the rest of Thunder Talk to go in. About is completely split from his team yet again. And then Sundered Sky healing, the shield from the W, it's enough to finish off the kill. And then here, Monkey looking for just something to get back here. And I thought initially that the Sundered Sky healing from him was actually going to mean that he gets to live. But luckily, the Q from the Ahri does come through, does give the reset to Monkey, tries to look for more, but does get taken down. And that really was something WE had to try and look for, because at this point, you're against Soul Point. I think you're starting to get outscaled here across the board if you're Team WE. These types of plays where you have to try and at least get a kill back, something for you to latch onto, it's much needed at this point.
Totally. You just look at the two mages alone, but here we go. Junhao picking off Arha very deep behind enemy lines. Team About, though, is able to blow up Feather. Cataclysm going to come down, and it's Monkey that will have to trade his life back as Keshi once again leaves seismic weights that break WWE into different directions, sending one top side, one down river. All of them are heading to their demise once again, except Karis trying to rescue the kills back. Nice flash, gets the reset after killing off On, but one more flag and drag, and a slow from the smite from Junhao will secure 4 more kills over to Thunder Talk.
TT win yet another fight, and I feel like WE have to understand that the ball really isn't in their court at this point. They'll get another turret, this time the inner one in mid lane, and this will just make it harder and harder for WE to leverage some kind of vision around this dragon when it does spawn in a little less than 2 minutes. TT will be able to extend that vision line ahead of the objective spawning. As we do get a replay here, Monkey goes in, but I feel like, again, it's from a place of desperation. Arha at this point is found out. TT are kind of on to the plan from WE, and they say, all right, we have to spring the trap a little bit preemptively, but we got to try and go for something. TT, though, respond, react. They get the better of them yet again. And Junhao just keeps on running through these fights.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. But we're fighting still. WE only know one way back in. It's the flag and drag, dunked out Cataclysm. Junhao continues to heal, but he'll finally get the GA. But he bought the valuable time the rest of Thunder Talk needed to pounce once more. Karis won't even be able to find the kill onto Haru. The dash over the wall. It's the kill courtesy of Baron over to Keshi as it's another scrappy fight. The Thunder Talk are positioned to win.
Keshi taking a bow at Baron, paying respects to the thing that gave him that kill onto Karis. As he's going to be staying onto the bot lane. I don't think you guys kill him.
Yeah, well, charming him under the turret, takes some extra shots, maybe helps out, and here comes Haru, faking out the Realm Warp just to make sure they can get Keshi out. I like your style there, Haru.
Doesn't need to show up. You know, sometimes the threat of an attack is just as effective as the attack itself.
Well said.
As, you know, TT are definitely not going to be threatening to attack this dragon. They certainly will, but I think the threat of a fight might be enough to deter Team WE. It kind of is a lose-lose situation, though. You give up this dragon, you give up Soul, but But if you fight, I feel like you're 5,000 gold down. The odds of you actually winning it in a straight-up brawl, the last 3 team fights haven't gone your way, WE.
Well, the one solace they've got, Quacks, is that Stand United nor Realm Warp will be available. The Thundertalk don't seem to care that much. They're on to the Dragon. Monkey trying to set up a flank. The Hex Gate's going to bring him a buddy. Karis next to him. TT are trying to shut that down fast, but a charm lands onto Junhao. He does not have access to G anymore, but Monkey, very scared of Heru, flashes, dashes, but Heru will continue to chase him down, and he's got a rune prison written with Monkey's name on it. They section Monkey off, and they kill away the one guy that truly could prevent them from a Hextech Soul being a reality for Thundertalk.
We have 4 members now and no jungler, but they're sticking around anyway, Slayer. I'm kind of curious what the plan is here.
Maybe just to throw everything at the wall and go for it, but Keshi shuts it down immediately by killing off a bout, and Karis gets deleted by Heru with an actualizer. Team WE throw caution to the wind and learn a very big tale not to mess with Thundertalk. Ace over to TT.
And that should be Baron as well. They've got all of their members up, and Thundertalk win yet another fight. Hextech Soul secured. And I feel like the rest of the game is just kind of a formality at this point, Slayer. TT did such a good job at being able to group up for 5v5s and center themselves around Keshi. We talked about this player as someone who has had, like we said, for the organization itself, an up and down year. But over the course of 2026, they have restored faith in him. They have given him the ball. They have allowed him to play his style, to be aggressive, regardless of the pick that he is piloting. And on Cassante, a tank of all champions, he is putting on a carry performance.
That last part is what sticks with me from you, Quacks, is that we were scoffing at this pick. We were like, really, Keshi? That's what you R5 with? That's boring, man. We expected more out of you. Boy, has the gameplay shut us up very quickly. I think we're going to have to reclassify what Cassante's role is in League of Legends.
Showmaker classified. I think Showmaker classified Cassante pretty well. I think we should go back to spamming that.
Ah, okay. You're trying to bring out the old copy pastas. We'll see if Keshi's got more heroics here. Zara pops out of a bush, does land the charm and the Chains of Corruption on top of Heru, but nobody can really find this executing kill. It's not even Karis throwing his life on the line. Heru survives, and that could just mean this is the final push for Thundertalk. Heru earns himself a very well-deserved triple kill, and TT now threaten the base and maybe just the game over Team WE.
It's a 4-0, 30-second death timers until one of the WE members is going to be able to join about to defend the base. Yeah, I think the game is over from here, Slayer. A great game 1 from Thundertalk. 7-0-6 for Keshi.
And On puts the cherry on top, getting a kill onto a bout in his own fountain. 28 kills. We wanted it bloody and chaotic, Quacks, and we got it, but maybe not this one-sided for TT. What a start.
I know. We were hyping up this matchup as the battle of the mid-tier teams, right? As teams that are looking to break themselves into the upper echelon, show that they can challenge some of the Titans for the LPL, and how much of a bout it was going to be. This was Mike Tyson versus, like, me. I mean, I'm losing that, man. I'm WE in this analogy. Thundertalk or Mike Tyson. I'm good. I'm backing up. See? You're good.
Yeah.
All right, I get it, man.
Yeah, I think you understand it. Quacks understands it now. And, you know, if we were to give one guy the analogy of being Mike Tyson at his prime in this series, or sorry, this game, we can start the conversations before any of the graphics roll here, Quacks. I am very much so expecting that our rookie top winner, Keshi, here deserves his flowers and deserves himself that MVP for Game 1.
Absolutely. And I think we mentioned it in the game, but seeing him put on a performance like this where he is constantly looking for kills, constantly looking to be aggressive on a champion where I think some top laners are under the impression that they can just chillax. That is really heartening to see. I think especially for a rookie saying, hey, my champion does damage. I like doing damage. You know, the boot fits. And I think that he had multiple opportunities to show that he could make an impact in the game, and every single one of them he took. The 1v2 in bot lane was absolutely amazing from the guy.
It was what really turned things back for Thunder Talk, right?
Got the
We
ball
were
rolling.
hyping up. Yeah, we were hyping up Haru getting kind of punished in mid lane. Oh boy, here we go. Karis is accelerated. Monkey's accelerated. We've seen them run games over like this, but Keshi slowed it down. And from that very moment forward, he just always made the right play in these fights. And most importantly, Quacks knew that his health bar was the biggest tool for his team's success in this one.
For sure. And I also think that it was really cool of Haru as well. Oftentimes we would see Haru step up really far along with Keshi a couple of times, especially in the early parts of the game, to his detriment. But like, I think back to that last fight where he's getting fully focused onto Team WE, and then as his team is like running them through on the inner tier 2 tower in the bot side, he throws down the Realm Warp at like 1 HP. You would never expect anyone to take that, but he does. He goes in. He wants to be in the big team photo as his team annihilates WE off of the map. But he did multiple plays like that where he just was always in range to deal damage, even though he got off to a rough start against Karis.
And what really, hammers home this win for Thunder Talk is we came into this matchup saying solo lanes could be the downfall of TT in this matchup, we really feel like. And that's why I'm glad that, we've hyped up Keshi. But, of course, Haru was targeted badly this game. He got, 2 deaths on the mid lane,
Right.
3v1. He gets caught trying to get back to bot lane tier 1 turret. That's the kind of things that can totally wreck not just your single game, but, take your mental down. He didn't let any of that affect him. Like you talked about, the way he was able to make, similar to Keshi, the right decisions in those later fights, regardless whatever happened early.
And god damn it, this is the second time in a row that I have seen Karis be up like 2-0 against his lane opponent, have a really solid lead, and then it just gets thrown away, out the window. Be gone with you, lead. It feels like past the mid-game, WE struggles so much at certain points to maintain any of the stuff that they have built up, and I just feel like it is because other teams are able to find side lane advantages against them. This is something that we highlighted specifically for Thunder Talk's comp. When you've got the Rise, when you've got the Shen, when you've got all of this cross-map ability and the ability to play side lanes really effectively to get some of that gold from the plates, I feel like that is a really big kryptonite of WE, and it seems like Thunder Talk went into this game knowing that, because I think after the initial slump that they had early on, they kind of returned to brass tactics and said, let's just collect gold and we'll play when we're scaled up, and we'll get some dragons. Luckily, WE gave them those for essentially free in the early to mid phases of the game.
Yeah, we saw the Monkey prioritize those top side objectives, those void-based objectives, if you will. He did, of course, get the majority of the grubs. He got the Rift Herald, but it was just all of the right ingredients coming together at the right time with those dragons going early, playing into the fact that they had scaled into a much more powerful position right when that third dragon came along line. And I think you made great points, Quacks, that at mid-game and even after mid-game can be a bit of a problem for Team WE. In this game, I feel like they just recognized that they were behind where they really shouldn't have been and kind of just panic forced as many fights as they could, hoping that they could bring as much gold back into their pockets. But, of course, the guy up nearly 3.7k over Cube was the one with all the gold here. Keshi grabbing a well-deserved player of the game here, Quacks. And the only thing that's left to see is I'm always curious to see how these votes are split these days with the new introduction of a certain non-human compatriot voting in these polls directly now.
Right. You make a good point. I will say, seeing Keshi get MVP is a lot more heartening to me. I've been casting BLG series recently, and I've literally been making a joke that Knight just gets all of the MVPs. Like, no matter what, he's just always going to be the MVP of the game because he's Knight. And I feel like that has snuffed some of his teammates who deserve to get MVP for that specific game. So it's nice to see the guy who performed really good not just get the MVP, but as you can see on the bottom of the screen, everybody seems to be in unanimous agreement that it was the Keshi show in game number 1.
I was a little scared for some of our voters that they'd be swayed by the damage numbers alone, but Good to see Keshi gets a unanimous MVP. Got to cherish those when you can, because even when we think people deserve them, they don't necessarily go their way. I can think of a couple that I remember from Split 2 there. You want to know who is the unanimous MVP, though, Quacks, of the LPL English broadcast? It's not us. It's not our production. It's not even our socials teams and our mods team. As much as I'd love to give it out to all those lovely people that help us run it, it is you guys, the viewers behind the scenes, that are the unanimous MVP of our community-run LPL English broadcast. And the best way to support us, even more directly than watching, of course, is our coffee link. So, if you would like to support LPL English, you should consider becoming a coffee member. Coffee is the best way to support the LPL English project, since a vast majority of your contributions go directly into the show itself. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, of course, but a huge bulk pays on-air talent like myself and Quacks and the many content creators as well. Subscribe to the Car Coffee. It is linked in the chat to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask unique on-site interview, or not always on-site interviews, but just interview questions to the many great players that go to internationals and, of course, the LPL teams as well. So, Quacks, as we get set up for our Game 2 draft between Team WE and Thunder Talk, this is the best time for all of you to go check out the coffee and their many perks. We'll see you guys on the other side for Game 2, Team WE Thunder Talk.
This no clothes on the chair moment was brought to you by California Closets. Bedroom and home storage solutions by designers who get you. California Closets. Get started with a free consultation today.
Back in action here on the LPL English stream as we get into the nitty-gritty of our first of 3 series today. Game 2, Thunder Talk versus Team W coming your way. And if you missed Game 1, well, Quacks, they missed a lot of surprises that not a lot of people were expecting going into this matchup.
For sure. I think that Thunder Talk and WE, if you had asked about like who would win, if you had like the poll, I would assume that it was pretty split down the middle, to be honest with you. I think that as we established in the pre-show Slayer, both of these teams have had really up and down splits so far. For Thunder Talk, it obviously was taking the 2 MSI representatives to 3 games and then losing their last 2 series in pretty spectacularly bad fashion. And then for WE, it's just always up and down for WE. You can never get a read on how good this team is going to be on the day. It really is just darts with them. But for Thunder Talk, I mean, it was a really convincing win. They did have some hiccups in the early game, but I think that it was a fairly solid match from them. And the source of all of that was from Keshi, I think a player that has been under heavy scrutiny, not just this split, but this year as a whole, I think has come in as a rookie, and a lot of people have been up and down. You know, usually when you see a rookie on an organization that has been historically middle of the pack, you can just kind of write them off. It's pretty easy to do so, but I think that Keshi has very much so, pun intended, made the Thunder quite loud in his presence. So love to see that from him, and that was a great game to start off the series on his Cassante.
Now let's see if they can continue to build on that and do something they have, I believe, yet to do the split, which is find a 2-0 series. Okay, a 2-0 series win against a team that isn't EDG, guys. That's where I'll have to. At this point, we really need to make that. Yeah, we gotta make like beating ADG as like a separate thing. All right, that's the unfortunate point we're at, Quacks, with that team.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's funny too, because like WE themselves were in a similar situation in Split 2 to what EDG are currently, and that entire time I was just like, come on, WE. You can do it. I mean, you and I literally casted their first game win. You and I, Slayer, we did it, right? So, I was like super pumped up to see if this team could actually, you know, get the first game win, and then they got the series win, and then the whole playoffs thing. Like, it's the underdog story. For EDG, I don't know if it's like just something subconsciously within me. I cannot be rooting for EDG's upswing for the life of me. I don't know what it is.
Well, luckily, we can take our attention away from Edward Gaming and into the Game 2 draft here, as we do see Team WE have opted. I'm willing to bet that they went for counterpick. I'm sure we can get some sort of clarification, as my reading of the great Mandarin language is unfortunately pretty subpar. Regardless, they will have counterpick. Oh, I've been exposed, as I've already been told this. So TT have blue. Yeah, so Team WE did want the counter pick. We can move past this, Quacks. We're going to see TT use their B1 pick on a very good safe AD carry, one of the few AD carries that we've seen consistently work in this mage meta. They're going to get on the Ezreal, and it looks like About's looking to really bounce back from a subpar game 1. He's going to go Lucian, and I mean, that basically signals to me it's going to be Lucian Melio here for this Team WE bottom lane.
Vi after the Ezreal has already been locked in is really interesting, because I think this is a bit of a double-edged sword. You do get the guaranteed lockdown on a champion that is, as you would, know, Slayer, notoriously difficult to pin down, especially the later the game goes. But also, Ezreal can bring you deeper into the weeds with the Arcane Shift if you mistime your ultimate or you lead with it too early in the fight. So I think Monkey's discretion on when to use the spell is really going to be something to highlight over the course of this game. Thunder Talk, though, going to opt to instead finish out their bot lane and then join it up with a jungler. Nothing too huge for your normal team drafts, as I think a lot of teams have been focusing down bot lane and jungle in the first phase. But unlike Thunder Talk, to be honest with you, like we had kind of discussed in the first game, they really like to get their top side, dropped into the draft as soon as possible. So Seraphine Zinzao going to be there. And then to answer the Seraphine, I'm actually surprised they went with the Seraphine, because Lucian Melio's his most popular pairing, so I feel like you're kind of playing into that by going Seraphine. It's just very easy to get that breath of life off on the Encore.
That was my immediate reaction to Quacks. I actually am starting to like it a little bit more though for everything else that Seraphine provides in this game. Thinking about that dive in with the Vi, just the double tapping those shields, trying to get some extra healing over whoever gets dove on, and then the Xin Zhao as an answer into the Lucian. When you think about the culling and how much raw damage that can bring. Junao, it's going to be pretty darn easy for him to kind of deflect that entire thing with that Crescent Guard. So, as we get into the second phase of bans, I'm more impressed with the way TT is drafted so far this series. But, of course, we do have those solo lanes to figure out here. We just won't have any Gnar for Keshi here. No Yorick available. And the Jace ban, we see that they're doing their homework. TT know that 2 of the 3 players with Jace wins this split are on Team WE. So that's a 2-for-1 special ban there, Quacks, even if we did already have the Vi locked in.
All right, so Jace, Gnar. I'm interested on what this last ban is going to be, because if it isn't Vayne, I feel like Vayne would have a lot of, especially, I mean, for both of these teams, because you've got Melio and Seraphine as your supports. You've got the healers up and available. Yeah, Talia, an interesting ban here. WE, though, Renekton, with a lot of these ranged top laners taken off the table, I think does have value. But Vayne is still open. I actually kind of like this. If they want to get Keshi on more of a carry, more of the stuff that we were hoping to see from him initially in this series, Slayer, I absolutely wouldn't hate that. But also, if we're talking about things for Xin Zhao to maybe be paired up with, maybe Anivia would be something. There are a lot of dashes on the enemy team, so might not be the best, but I think Haru's comfort has been something we really like to heavily prioritize in these games.
Quacks, quickly, what are the winning lottery ball numbers, bro? What the hell?